Hello guys, and welcome to another video, and just a short one today. I wanted to do a bit of a discussion on borrowed power in Path of Exile. I think this is a term that's been used a little bit, especially in recent leagues, and it used to be this thing where there would be little bits of power creep in each league and things would slowly get added over time, and eventually you've got a much more powerful set of options available to you after all these new league mechanics and different interactions are taking place. But more recently, I think especially the last 4 or 5 leagues, you kind of look at a league from the outside looking into the core game and you say, well, that league mechanic is probably not going to go core because it's just way too strong, and it's really fun as a league mechanic, but then once the league is finished, it's gone for good, and maybe some remnants of the league will hang around, and people will interact with different things. Like, for example, people are still waiting for Recombinators to come back from Sentinel League, and a lot of people thought that would be a great addition to the core game, but GGG haven't brought that back to the game just yet. They have said that they would like to do it, but they don't really know how to quite do it correctly yet without introducing insane power creep to the game. And the term borrowed power, as far as I understand it, is the meaning of giving power to the players in a given league and then taking that power away again. So you have things like, in the current league, the Crucible passive trees, the weapon passive trees, that I think are extremely unlikely to go core. I don't really see that ever happening. They're way too powerful, like way too powerful. These things are insane. I actually just saw a post yesterday on Reddit with a 1800 DPS axe or 1900 DPS axe, some ridiculous damage axe, and it was crazy. And I think weapon trees in general are very powerful. You can get like +9 to maximum resistance, or like a single maximum elemental resistance on a single shield, which is crazy. And I think overall, borrowed power is a really interesting idea where you can make a league really fun and make it really interesting and actually make it really different compared to other leagues, make it feel very different. And then you can remove that power away from the player, and the player then gets to play around with something else in the next league. And I think that's actually a really good way to approach leagues. And you can always come back to a league or come back to the idea of a league at a later date and re-add something that was an interesting idea or an interesting concept back to the game, but add it in a way that is healthy for the game going forward. And we had the relics in Sanctum League where you could gain like these really nice stats. Some of them had like +3 to maximum resistances, flask gain charges, things like that. That was a really strong, a new equipment slot that just got added to your character, and you could just have this on permanently. And that was obviously very strong as well, and that got removed from the game. And maybe they will add Sanctum again in the future, but I don't see it having relics. I think it'll be more of a dungeon crawler-esque thing like it was, but you'll probably just have loss of the currency and not so much of the relic system. And maybe you'll also still be able to get the unique items. But I do really enjoy the concept of borrowed power. I think that designing a league with the intention of it never going core is an interesting concept, because you can have a lot more flexibility there, and you can always go back to that concept at a future date and pick out things that work and just really decide how you can add it correctly in a way that's not going to damage the game going forward. Because I think there are a lot of things in the game that are bloating out the end game. There is a lot of mechanics that are not necessarily a great fit for the game anymore. For example, I don't think Metamorph is that great. I think that mechanic can be completely removed from the game, and they can add quality to jewelry elsewhere. They can actually add it in a completely different way. They don't need to have these catalysts or anything like that. I think catalyst is a kind of awkward concept to begin with, and I think that you could just have jewelry quality added elsewhere and put it in a different way. But there are league mechanics like that in the game that I think can be completely removed from the game, and they can kind of rework different things and add things in. For example, jewelry quality could probably be added to Betrayal, and it just has one of the Betrayal members. You just interact with a bench and you get 20% quality or however much quality on a piece of gear, right? Just like you do with weapons and armor with Hillock. And what do you guys think about the concept of borrowed power? Do you like the idea of leagues being designed in a way that they are never intended to go into the core game? Or would you prefer a league that is designed so maybe the power creep isn't so high, but it has the initial intention of going into the core game, and then perhaps it gets balanced and tweaks out at some point, and they eventually do add it to the game? or maybe you like the idea of really strong and overpowered league mechanics like Crucible and like the initial harvest and things like that, but you want GGG to actually add these things to the game in a way that they deem healthy for the game or something like that. Let me know your thoughts, guys, in the comments. I think this is a really interesting discussion to have because I have noticed this trend recently in the last 3, 4, 5 leagues where I just get the sense that the league mechanic was never really intended to go into the core game because it just doesn't feel like it's a core game mechanic. It feels too strong or it doesn't feel like it fits well. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, guys. And as always, stay tuned and stay safe.